welcome to the Columbia Icefield. As you guys probably already noticed by now, it's a very beautiful place. It's pretty cool. If you guys came from Banff or Jasper, the town of, you would have noticed it's changed a little bit, the area. That's because you've moved up in ecoregions. So we have 3 distinct ecoregions in the Canadian Rockies. The town of Banff and Jasper are located in the lowest, which is the montane. You'll find a lot of different plants and animals there, and a lot of biodiversity. Leafy trees can survive there because it's a little bit warmer than where we are now. And as you drove in your car today, you would have moved up into the subalpine ecoregion that we are in right now. So you notice that there's not as many different plants or animals. You'll probably see some bighorn sheep or some mountain goats. There's a lot of those around here, but not very many bears and a lot of other things. There's a lot of ground squirrels though, so keep your eyes peeled for them. But they're not as exciting as the mountain goats, so we'll be honest. And then if you look around, you'll notice there's a point where the trees stop growing, and that marks the transition between the subalpine, where we are right now, and the alpine, which is the highest ecoregion. In the alpine, there's not very many animals that live up there, or very many plants that grow either, because it has such intense weather and a lot of solar radiation and poor soil, but it does make for some amazing views. If you look to our left here, you'll see Mount Snowdome. It's named because it has a big thick crust of ice and snow on top. That is the Columbia Icefield there. And the Dome Glacier looks like that frozen waterfall there. Now Mount Snowdome is quite amazing because it is a hydrological apex, also known as a triple continental divide. So if you were to climb up on Mount Snowdome and pour 1 cup of water, the water would run off in 3 different directions and end up in the 3 different oceans that Canada borders. So water would actually go to the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Arctic from Mount Snowdome, which is quite amazing because we can't really see glaciers throughout a lot of Canada, but they provide a lot of the fresh water for us, which is quite cool. So we're going to follow the river here on the left. That's the Sunwalkta River, and you notice it has a bunch of big piles of rock in it. And that makes it a braided river because it makes all these different braids or channels. Over time, the braids will erode away, but that will be a long time before that happens. Now you'll notice on the right here we have Mount Wilcox, and these big rocks came rolling off of Mount Wilcox. And some of them came flying down the mountain and shooting across the road here. And you see on the left all the ones that have made it all the way over. And we have nicknamed this stretch road the Shooting Gallery because of that reason. You guys don't need to worry because Parks Canada, they actively manage the rock face now. So they'll send people up there to see if anything's loose, and if anything is, they will knock it down when the road is closed so that we don't have to worry when we're driving. Now the freeze-thaw cycle is what causes these rocks to become loose. And the freeze-thaw cycle is when water gets into cracks and it freezes. And as water freezes, it expands and it makes those cracks larger, until eventually it actually breaks whatever rock has that crack on it free from the rest of the mountain, and then it comes rolling down. Now that's pretty significant to the area because the freeze-thaw cycle is the #1 cause of erosion in the Canadian Rockies. So if you notice, the valley that we were driving through is very flat and wide, and that's because it's glacially widened. So a glacier came through here at one point. And glaciers don't dig very deep down, but they do make it nice and flat and relatively wide. Now up ahead, it transitions into a water-eroded valley. So you notice the valley will get very narrow, very deep, and a very aggressive V-shape, and that's for a very good reason. On the left here is Mount Kitchener, and Mount Kitchener had a rock slide about 1,000 to 10,000 years ago, and it dammed the valley, and then a lake formed, and eventually a river started flowing from the lake to drain it. And that river is what very aggressively eroded the valley up ahead. So you notice the valley has completely gotten kind of pinched off except for the river. And the river's flowing through a very deep, aggressive V-shaped channel there. And you'll have a really great view of the transition when you're on the Skywalk. So straight ahead is the Skywalk. We finished building that in 2014. They got some really smart people to figure out how to build it, and they settled on something called a cantilever design. So it's only attached on the one side of the mountain. You can think of it just being bolted to it with some really big bolts. It's super strong. So if you guys saw that Ice Explorer that we have in the upper parking lot, that big red and white off-road bus, they're pretty heavy. And they built it strong enough that it can hold our entire fleet of Ice Explorers. So we own and operate 21 of them. So even if you had a big breakfast or you just had a big lunch, don't worry, it will hold you no problem. Keep your eyes peeled up here for bighorn sheep and mountain goats. They like to hang out on the other side of the road on the left there sometimes, just grazing away. So we might be able to get a glimpse of them if they're around. And you'll get a really good view up here on the left of the skywalk itself. You'll see just how far out from the mountain face you are when you're on the edge there. And you guys chose a beautiful day to come. We got the sun shining and you're beating the crowds because you came early in the day and there's not going to be too busy of a day. So you really picked a good time to join us. Make sure you grab an audio tour. They have a ton of good information. They are free and they're self-guided, so you can pause them, you can play them, you can kind of go at your own pace, and they have a ton of good information, and they come in a couple different languages. So if you want one in something other than English, we also have French, Mandarin, Korean, and Japanese. Just let them know and they'll switch it over for you. There is no time limit to the skywalk, so you guys can hang out here until the very last bus at about 7 o'clock tonight, or you can catch the next shuttle back. We have them running about every 15 minutes. Just make sure you bring all your belongings because we do have a couple of them going, and I likely will not be your driver. So I'm going to spin around here and then I'll park and drop you guys off. I just have your tickets handy. They are going to scan them once you get off the bus here.